Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Township Mapleton Council meeting. If you're able, please rise for O Canada. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, confirmation of minutes. I have here moved by Councillor Woodham, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that minutes of the Township Mapleton Council meeting held on October 14, 2025 be confirmed as circulated in the agenda. Any comments? All in favor? It's carried. Nothing under the Planning Act. No delegations today. We have the minutes of the committee. What's emergency management? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
I just took a little clerk's license to put that on the agenda because it's not an advisory committee, but with Urania so seldom in the council chambers, I just thought I'd put that on there in case anybody had any questions.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to us today? Not for the minutes, but do you have anything else you'd like to speak to?
She does.
Okay. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It's on now? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So my first report is the 2025 Annual Emergency Management Program Report. And it's just running through how the township has met the municipal requirements under the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act and Regulation 380-04 for 2025. So for the program committee, we're required to have one. We met on February 12th. We went through the program for the year, including the hazard identification and risk assessment, emergency response plan, training needs, proposed annual exercise and public education, and those were the minutes that were included. In terms of the emergency response plan, it was passed through council in the fall of 2020. My second report today includes updates to that existing plan, so I'll go through some of those key changes during my second report. Training, so the prescribed training hasn't changed from the 2018 guidance from the province for 2025. You'll see we ran a few courses throughout the year, and then with a major focus on D4H training, which is the new emergency management software, and we did run some township-specific training on October 23rd as well. The annual emergency management exercise requirement, that was held on September 10th. It was a joint exercise with the Township of Wellington North and Town of Minto. Some of the recommendations and outcomes from that, communication and coordination. So Key takeaway was just how important communication is for each municipal emergency control group, knowing how to reach your counterparts in the neighboring municipalities. Given the familiarity with this kind of scenario as a winter storm, we didn't get maybe the most coordination amongst all the member municipalities that were involved, so we're keeping that in mind for next year and hoping to draw out a little bit more of that coordination with a different scenario. IMS roles and responsibilities, so some members of the Municipal Emergency Control Group were unclear of some of their roles or responsibilities throughout the exercise, especially when it was linked to some of the forms that we have. So this will be a particular focus for 2026 training program. And then the D4H functionality, most felt that the software was easy to use, utilize, was benefit to familiarize the Municipal Emergency Control Group with it. We did have some technical issues, and then we did have some issues with folks not being able to log in. So for future, of course, we'll be doing kind of a preemptive login, but then also hoping to run much more training on D4H for 2026, and also launch our sandbox environment for it. So that'll be kind of a separate thing that all the municipalities will have access to. They can log on at any time, and it's a duplicate environment of the real live environment, so folks can just kind of go in and practice, and it's not going to affect any of the real life scenarios or anything that's incidents that happen. In terms of public education, we attended 25 events throughout the county. 2 were unfortunately canceled, but we attended a total of 5 events for the township. Of note, we attended the 150th celebration on June 29th and the Seniors Wellness and Connection Fair on October 10th. Emergency preparedness this week was May 4th to 10th, continued with our regular social media updates, advertiser radio ads, and our promotional material at the libraries. We continued with our Do One Thing campaign throughout the year, and you can see the list there of monthly themes. The only change was March and April, we did a little bit more avian influenza awareness, just because we saw some rise throughout the county and throughout on Canada, I guess, more effects of avian influenza, so we just did some awareness working with public health on that. And then in terms of critical infrastructure, this is what we're working on through the mapping software. We are required to identify the facilities and other elements of critical infrastructure for the township and all the member municipalities. Just due to staffing constraints, we're hoping to have this updated and up and running by the end of 2026. So in conclusion, the township has fulfilled the mandatory municipal requirements under the Act. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rania. Questions from council? Thank you. So council, I have 3 resolutions here we'll go through then. 8.1, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham, that the minutes of the Township Mapleton Emergency Management Program Committee dated February 12, 2025 be received for information as circulated in the agenda. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried. Next one we'll do is 9.21, which is moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham, that Township Mapleton Council receive for information 2025 Annual Emergency Management Program. Report EM 2025-01 dated October 28, 2025 regarding the status of the Township's Annual Emergency Management Program, and that Council accepts the annual status report of the Township's Emergency Management Program for 2025. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried. And the last one, 9.2.2, moved by Councillor Woodham, seconded by Councillor Otten, that Township Mapleton Council receive for information the 2025 Emergency Response Plan Updates Report EM 2025-02 dated October 28, 2025 regarding the status of the Township's Annual Emergency Management Program, and that Council considers the replacement of the existing bylaw 2020-058 with a new bylaw adopting the 2020 Emergency Response Plan 2025 revisions for the Township Mapleton, County of Wellington, and member municipalities. Questions on this one? Councillor Woodham.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson. I believe you would like to speak to this report also, or?
Sure. Thank you through you, Mayor Davidson. Just going to highlight just a couple of items. Thank you, Councillor Woodham. So, yeah, through you, basically, we're required to have an emergency response plan under the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act. The current plan was approved by the township in the fall of 2020 when the 8 municipal emergency response plans were combined to one joint plan. As directed in the plan under Section 20, we are required to review the plan annually at a minimum by myself, the CEMC, and every 5 to 10 years for a major review in conjunction with the Emergency Management Program Committee. So it has been 5 years since the last update, and there were changes that were necessary that have come out of the COVID-19 After Action Report, updates for clarity for source water protection, feedback from the Emergency Management Program Committees, and other changes necessary for continued accuracy, clarity, and relevance. So there's just a few key things I just wanted to highlight. You can see the rest of the changes throughout the report, but we updated the legal authority because the ministry has changed to the Ministry of Emergency Preparedness and Response versus what was previously listed as the Ministry of Solicitor General. So now it falls under that legal authority. We've added a revisions table to keep track of all that, so all the numbers formatting throughout the whole document had to be updated. Replacing control group language with municipal emergency control group, just as is best practice at the provincial level, and then highlighting the source water protection plans updates to paragraph 3 and 4 to more accurately reflect details of the vulnerable areas shown on the mapping in Appendix B. And then just the updates that came out of the COVID-19 After Action Report were updating language to ensure all emergency services, OPP, Guelph Wellington Paramedic Services, and Fire, and other support agencies are considered for participation in the Joint Municipal Emergency Control Group, EOC. So there was just some language added there. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from members of council? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I read the resolution. All in favor? It's carried. And council, we're going to jump one more time. We're going to go to 9.41. Kyle?
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm happy to be here to present this report for your consideration. Joining me actually is Kira Martinson, who's our source protection coordinator, who just newly joined us in August, and I thought we'd bring her to her first council meeting to see this go through. So I have for your consideration a recommendation that the council township endorse the draft water quantity policy amendments to the Grand River Source Protection Plan as per Section 34 of the Clean Water Act. A bit of background information and a bit of a summary. As council will recall, since February of 2022, we have been implementing the policy requirements for the Center Wellington Wellhead Protection Area for Quantity, which does extend into the township, covering Alma and a small portion of the southern rural portion of Mapleton. The work that's involved with this is primarily done by Wellington Source Water Protection in conjunction with the planning and building departments. And includes review of planning applications. There's some water conservation and education programs, increased partnerships with other government agencies such as the GRCA or the province, and also increased provincial reviews of things like permits to take water. Concurrently with the approval back in February 2022, there was a project ongoing in the south part of the county surrounding the city of Guelph that was also for a wellhead protection area for quantity protection around the city of Guelph. That project is now completed and has resulted in some policy wording changes to the policies that affect all of the county, because it is one county chapter. And that's what's in front of you for your consideration today. Overall, staff are in support of the proposed amendments. We feel that the amendments are generally editorial in nature, and then there's a few new ones that will have fairly minor impacts to Mapleton, but larger impacts to Center Wellington or to the southern municipalities. Be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions from council? So see you, Kyle. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Resolution 9.41, moved by Councillor Reid, second by Councillor Martin. The Township Mapleton Council endorsed the draft water quality policy amendments to the Grand River Source Protection Plan as per Section 34 of the Clean Water Act. So I'll ask any more questions? All in favor? It's carried. Now going back to our regularly scheduled program, we'll go to 9.11. which is Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act. Mr. CEO?
Thank you. Through your worship, hopefully I've done a decent job at trying to explain what's happening. Bill 17 is mostly been approved, but there's a couple of carve-outs that are still yet to be discussed and approved or go for final approval. And it's absolutely anticipated that this will get approved at the provincial level. So one of the things that we're looking for is in the report is, and that Bill 17 includes, is when the timing of when we charge development charges. So right now, we charge them once we apply and get the building permit. However, in talking to a few builders, and one has come today to visit us, saying that it would help. It's a great idea, and he's glad that the province is doing so. But there are homes getting built right now, and it would save them a considerable amount of cash flow to put up the units so they can put them up quicker. And then once the building department grants final occupancy, we would, before they get final occupancy, we would collect those DCs, and if they don't pay them, then we don't grant final occupancy. We've been kind of hemming and hawing about this for a good year and a half, thinking about it. But since the province is going to at some point approve this change, we thought that we'd try to get ahead of it a little bit. And there are some houses being built across Mapleton, and if we can maybe get ahead of the game and save some folks some money and some cash flow, that we're asking council to do that. So.
Thank you. The resolution moved by Councillor Woodham, second by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive CAO report dated October 28, 2025 regarding Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, specifically Section 26.1, subsection 7 of the Development Charges Act 1997, and further, the council approves changing the timeline for when development charges shall be collected in anticipation of the province enacting the proposed legislative amendments. Questions from members of council? Councillor Ottens.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Davidson. This probably was in here and maybe it's slipped my mind. Is this applying only to residential building or all of our development charges, like for given that we're heavy agriculture?
As it reads in the bill, I believe it's just residential. Yeah. And it may have mentioned if somebody were to build affordable housing or attainable housing, that doesn't even apply. So development charges do not apply according to Bill 17. So they are trying to do and expedite things, but right now it's for residential.
Thank you. Further questions? Not seeing any other questions. All in favor? That's carried. We'll move on to 9.31, which is the 2023 budget update. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor Davidson. So the 2026 budget process formally kicked off with the pre-budget overview and direction from council back on September 9th, well before the Blue Jays were competing for the World Series. At that time, staff were directed to build the 2026 municipal budget with a target levy adjustment of 3.10%. At our last meeting, with support from our Deputy Treasurer Rachel Carter and Asset and Procurement Manager Armand Baines, staff presented or tabled the proposed budget and multi-year forecast, which successfully met that target of 3.10% as anticipated. But in order to make that possible, staff did also outline that staffing levels were maintained at our same lean staffing level, and a few capital initiatives were deferred into future years to enable us to hit that 3.1% target. Last week, staff hosted a workshop for council just to outline a few additional elements within the budget that may not have been as clear from the formal tabling of the budget, some changes within the layout of our budget specifically. And then this evening is an opportunity for council to consider the current draft of the budget and provide commentary and feedback prior to the public input session, which is being held November 3rd at the PMD Arena. So prior to opening up for feedback, I did want to advise that the budget, in particular the 10-year capital forecast, has been modified slightly from the original version you saw. That's in large part due to decisions that were made regarding MB 002. So actually, with some shifting because of workload that causes, the capital budget for 2026 actually goes down slightly overall, but that'll be highlighted within the public input session. It doesn't impact the levy adjustment. It really only impacts how much we're drawing from our infrastructure reserves this year versus in future years. On the whole, the capital program over 10 years is still around that $8.1 million per year. So just want to be transparent with the numbers you saw at the tabling of the budget aren't the exact same as what will be presented at the public input session. With that, I'd open it up for any feedback from council.
Thank you. Resolution 9.31, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham. Township Mapleton Council received for information CFO's report FIN 2025-29 regarding the draft 2026 budget and multi-year forecast. We'll open up for questions now. Any questions from council? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This might be more for the clerk. I probably should have done it at the start of the meeting. I'm getting used to this idea that my kid has a new part-time job as a snack bar attendant at the arena, which is technically pecuniary interest on the budget. I'll fill out the paperwork afterwards, Larry, for you. But just so it's disclosed here.
A pecuniary interest on the snack bar attendant, just so you know. Thank you, Councilor Martin. Which son is this one? Okay. And you have a question, another question besides that?
Yeah, it's really, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's really just, I know we just had the workshop last week, but it's really just a question, reflect on my earlier question about the MCC and the kitchen renovations that are proposed for 2026 versus ball diamond washrooms, that conversation we had. I'm just curious if perhaps, and if not, it's totally fine too, but if perhaps there's been a little investigation into the needs part of that, the timing of those projects. And if not, that's totally fine. We can talk about it at another time as well, but just thought I'd reflect that back.
So, Mr. Morgan, from our budget workshop, there's a discussion on the kitchen versus washrooms, and the washrooms have been pushed back for 8-9 years.
Through your Mayor Davison, yeah, I think both projects, and with talking with staff, both of them have been pushed off for years and years and years, and potentially back in 16, maybe 17 when that was done, the kitchen maybe should have been added to that project. This is just a prioritization by staff presented to council. They're very similar in price. If there was discussion, really was just a staff preference of doing the kitchen and the state of it. We do, and as Councillor Martin alluded to, we do use the porta potties, and there is the existing bathrooms. Unfortunately, they get vandalized the odd time, and they're in a very poor spot in the back corner. So the plan is to do those within this budget. I would not want to push them out anymore. We just felt as staff that the kitchen maybe sees a little bit more action in the 12-month period than the washrooms would in the summer, but understanding that it is nice having those facilities to have there for the tournaments, because there is a lot of baseball there. So opening it up to council, that was just a staff recommendation, and there's been a few comments from the people using the kitchen too, like at the mayor's breakfast and that said, you know, are you guys going to update this shortly? It's starting to look a little tattered. So that's really all. There's no like the life cycle. The bathrooms are done there now. The current ones, we want to move them, maybe built a little better, you know, cover there for Amy's programs for the kids. That stuff, that's always in the forefront of our thoughts. And yeah, I don't think I can add any more, but both of them really need to be, in my opinion, need to be done and have been pushed off too long.
So, Mr. Kelly, what's the budget impact of doing both this year?
Through you, Mayor, if we were to move the washrooms ahead by 2 years, that's an additional $245,000 that we haven't included within the budget or forecast. I think a piece that Jamie or Mr. Morgan touched on there quite a bit is this is us applying this capital prioritization framework that we talked about during the workshop and that we've brought up to the public. It essentially, staff are kind of tied to making decisions or making recommendations, that rely on the evidence that we have. During the workshop, we did touch on that's not an easy job, prioritizing things, but we do have to recognize being fair to the ratepayer, and also to align with our asset management practice. We prioritize initiatives. It's not the finance group that just sits and picks these things. It's detailed analysis by each of the departments. So again, it is a staff recommendation to keep it as it was, but ultimately it's council's decision if they'd like to move in a different direction.
Anything further on that, Mr. Martin? Okay. Other questions from members of council? Go ahead, Councilor Ottens.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm just asking this last time. I noticed there's something called government relations under administration and also under council. That's a new line item, and it's quite substantial, and I wondered what that was.
Mr. Kelly?
Sure. Through you, Mayor Davidson, essentially this is part of what we referred to as a recalibration piece within the budget, so we're correctly identifying costs where they belong. So as I believe the mayor mentioned at one of our meetings, and we've seen a lot this year, the township's had a great deal of success in obtaining external grant funding under various initiatives. I would say, based on my experience as well, that success doesn't happen without a lot of the advocacy efforts that both staff and council, as well as the mayor, are doing. Those advocacy efforts do come at a cost, whether it's direct government relations that we're undertaking as staff or the mayor or council, or if we're utilizing additional consulting sources to help us build the best case for an application for grant funding. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be for grant funding. It could be a case how best to advocate for something this community and rural Ontario needs. So essentially, it's not a new that's a long answer. It's not a new cost. It's just a more accurate reflection. That cost used to just have to find a home in either professional development or travel expenses or contracts. Now it clearly delineates what we're spending on intergovernmental relationships, and I think it's a good step forward in our efforts towards transparency.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, because that's been one of the issues over the years, is doing these, going down to Toronto, having these meetings, having to stay the night, because sometimes it's early morning meetings, or taking transportation around, and where do we allocate that? So I'm glad we actually have a spot where we can actually allocate it now. Other questions? Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do know that red font means a new project. I don't, the Drayton Ball Diamond, like the lights addition for 2026, I think it's a great idea. I'm curious, I guess, for Director Morgan, kind of what your vibe is on a solution. Are you thinking more lights? Are you recalibrating what's there? What do you think that that budget line allows for, for a solution? Because it's certainly welcomed from my standpoint, so thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Davidson, we're thinking that is to just basically do the exact same thing as we did at Diamond A and add those lights. We've had lots of comments. We went back into, since Patrick and I weren't here, we went back into the invoicing and found the invoices and what it cost back then, and we added a wee bit to it. So we're hoping to do exactly what we did at Diamond A Sorry, I got them mixed up. We did Diamond B to do the same at Diamond A as we did at Diamond B. Sorry about that. yeah, just to basically make them exact same, because lots of compliments and people like it, and it looks good.
You're right, there's a lot of people that really enjoy the new lights on the B Diamond, and if we can duplicate that on A, that's perfect. Further questions? Mr. Kelly, you got a question for yourself?
No, just an additional piece for that. I did, through you, Mayor, when Jamie and I and Aman were looking at the pricing on this, I was quite impressed. We've done Ball Diamond Lighting, or I have in other municipalities. The contractors here that are local contractors providing that work are very competitive with their pricing, which is nice to see, to get that upgrade. And then I would just add that having lighting on a Ball Diamond is pretty good. If games are going to start going 17, 18 innings, you're going to need lights on at night.
I don't think we're quite Blue Jay worthy yet, but sure. Anything further, council? Last call. Go ahead.
It's sort of a generic question through you. Is there any, have you heard any noise, I don't know, rumblings from MPAC about when they're going to update their assessments? Anything?
Through you, Mayor, I would say no, nothing that would make me optimistic that it's going to happen. As has been mentioned many times, that reassessment is going to have a major impact on everyone's, I guess, piece of the pie is what I'll say. It's going to reshuffle who's responsible for what proportion of property taxes across the community and across the entire province. So I think they're apprehensive as to doing that. I don't know when there's going to be a good time, but eventually somebody's going to need that, make the bold decision to move forward. Another piece, just because you did raise MPAC, the CAO, Manny, and myself, we're looking at putting together a delegation for Roma directly to the Ministry of Finance. I don't know if you remember the chart about who's responsible for what, but ultimately, like, a lot of us point blame and frustration to MPAC. MPAC only does what the ministry tells them they're obligated to do. So we are delegating, or hoping to delegate at Roma, just discussing some of the impacts on rural Ontario that decisions or tax legislation can have. So no, don't know of any rumblings, but that's not going to stop us from advocating and talking about why it's important.
Go ahead.
Through your worship, so I think 3 years ago, if you're talking about rumblings, there at Roma there was quite a push, and 3 years ago the Ontario government committed nothing will happen until at least 2026. However, it is becoming like CFO Kelly mentioned, and Mayor heard from a constituent yesterday. It is starting to impact competitiveness as well, where we know what we pay for a new building, but if there's a building for sale, for instance, at another municipality, based on the 2016, the property taxes that are paying on a similar building are they're really low compared to what a new building would pay. What the public doesn't understand, though, is as soon as there's a transaction, those taxes will go up. But in the back of people's mind and perception is that we charge more, and it's really not fair. So there absolutely needs to be something, and like Patrick mentioned, we do need a delegation, and I think you'll see more than one delegation from many municipalities trying to fix MPAC lately.
Anything further? Council Woodham, anything? Council Reid? Council Martin, anything further? You're good? All right. Resolution 9.31, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Woodham, that Township Mapleton Council receive for information CFO's report FIN 2025-29 regarding the draft 2026 budget and multi-year forecast. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you to our finance team and Mr. Morgan. Going to 9. A little bit mixed up here. Hang on. Okay, we're on 10.1. Approval of bylaws. Moved by Councilor Martin, second by Councilor Reed, that bylaw number 2025-050, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2010-080 for the Township of Mapleton, be hereby read first, second, and third time, and finally passed 28th day of October, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal. Any comments? All in favor? It's carried. 10.2, moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Martin, that bylaw number 2025-051, being a bylaw to amend the emergency response plan for Township of Mapleton, County of Wellington, and member municipalities, be hereby ready first, second, and third time, finally passed 28th day of October, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with a corporate seal. Any comments? All in favor? It's carried. We have 11.1, which is the Royal Canadian Legion. Resolution moved by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Reed. Township Mapleton Council hereby supports the annual Remembrance Day Parade and service conducted by the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 416, Drayton, Ontario, and that council directs the clerk to author a letter from the township expressing their support in order for the Legion to obtain a County of Wellington special event permit. Any questions to the clerk on this? All in favor? It's carried. Going on to item number 12, which is correspondence for council's information. There is, Mr. Clerk, 12 today. Thank you for cutting back. And if anyone on council wish to speak to on these 12 items. Councilor Reed.
Through you, Mayor, I just wanted to comment on 12.1, and it's nice to see the project that we have being recognized in Construction Source Canada.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, moving on. Any notices of motion from council? I have one. Let's just see if anybody else, Mr. Clerk. I have a notice of motion here that I've given to the clerk and the CEO, and council all has it. Whereas the residents of the Township of Mapleton recognize the service and sacrifice of Canadian veterans who have served in the armed forces, and whereas many communities across Canada have implemented street naming programs to honor deceased veterans to ensure that their contributions are remembered by future generations, and whereas a naming of new streets in honor of deceased veterans in the Township of Mapleton would serve as the lasting public tribute for both residents and visitors. Therefore, be it resolved that council direct staff to develop a veteran street naming program for the purpose of naming future municipal roadways after deceased veterans who have a connection to the Township of Mapleton, and 2, staff work with a local chapter of the Royal Canadian Legion and any other historical society to select the names, and 3, that staff report back to council with criteria and eligibility requirements for the honorees, and 4, that municipality formally recognize street names under the policy through appropriate signage with the poppy symbol. That's the notice of motion. We'll move down to item number 15, other business. Do we have any other business today? Councillor Ottens. Usually you have something, so.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to draw attention to, I'm the council representative on Safe Communities, and our Mapleton Safe Communities is holding a cyber safety awareness evening on Thursday, November 6th, with Crime Stoppers. They're the ones that will be making the presentation. It's called 5 Tips, 5 Ideas, 5 Signs. And they were a little hesitant about booking this because they've tried this in other communities and had very poor turnout to the point of 0 people. So they wanted us to have a minimum of 15 at least, just to say, you know, sign up in advance. So with minimal effort, we already are sitting at about 20 people coming to this, and that's not pushing super hard. So if you know of anyone, this is relevant to parents, grandparents, caregivers, anyone who works with youth. It's good information, and if you think we're all safe in our little rural area, we are not. So knowledge is power, right? So we're not trying to scare people, we're trying to build awareness. So that's on Thursday, November 6th at 7 PM at the Drayton Arena, and we've paired with the Canettes. They'll be providing refreshments. People can give them a donation if they want. It's a free evening and about an hour and a half presentation.
Thank you. Anything further? Then we'll go to item 16. 16.1, moved by Councillor Reed, seconded by Councillor Martin. The Township of Mapleton Council move into a closed session for consider the following subject matters: personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal employees, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality. All in favor? That's carried. 10-minute recess before we go into closed.